we don't pray about it. We don't seek God about it. You know, we get a man and he's hollering at us and he wants to give us his phone number, and we, you know, he's tall, dark, handsome. We think he's everything that we want and we desire. And the man never talked to us about going to church. He never talked to us about praying. He never talked to us about reading the Bible. But, you know, hey, I'm in a relationship. So we neglect all of that. And so when we get ourselves involved emotionally into this relationship, now we're stuck. Because now I don't want to pray and ask God, is he the right one? Because I'm afraid God going to say no. So, you know, God, I'm just going to bypass that. And, you know, you come to church and you want to go and talk to the pastor, but you're like, no, he gonna say no, that he ain't the one. So I don't want to go and talk to him. I don't want to. No, Lord, I got this. I can figure this out on my own. I can handle this on my own. And you know, the pastor be up and he be talking, and we look around the church and we find everybody that the pastor is talking about but us. Oh, he must be talking about Sister Nova, because, yeah, girl, Sister Nova told me she met this man the other day. That's who he talking to. He talking to Sister Nova. He's not talking to me. He's talking to Sister Nova. And then we're going to go and try to help Sister Nova out. You know, we're going to go and try to say, girl, you think that man for you? You really, is he really the one God told you to be with? But God is still telling us in the back of our minds, the one you got is not it. He's not it. But we, like I say, we look over that. Then we get emotionally involved. And now, this man done come and asked us to marry him. And that's what we've been waiting on. You know, oh my God, I've been waiting on this for years, God. This got to be you. This got to be you. This been my prayer. I've been fasting. I've been praying, and I've been asking, and I've been pleading, and I've been begging God. And this man finally asked me to marry him. And in your mind, the Lord is saying, go talk to the pastor. Oh, no, I can't do it. No. The pastor will even call you. Hey, sis. You was just on my mind. Girl, what's going on? And you would just say, I'm good. I'm doing good. You sure? Yeah, Pastor. I'm good, Pastor. I'm doing real. Well, you got anybody in your life? No, not really, Pastor. No, not really. You know, I'm talking to somebody, but it ain't serious or anything. You know, he did. The other day, he asked me to marry him. But, Pastor, I ain't thinking about that, he just asked. It's, well, Pastor, I can't come talk to you. No, I'm busy, Pastor. You got to wait, Pastor, until I get some time, because it's going to take some time for us to discuss this, Pastor. And that time never comes, because we don't want it to come. We even come to church and try to sit on the back row, so soon as church is over, we can hit that door before pastor can say, hey, how you doing? We out the door. So now he got to call us. And one thing about phones, they got this thing called caller ID. It's on the phone. And you look at that phone, this pastor calling. I'll call him later. And we're going to let it go to the voicemail, because we just want to know what he want to talk about. We want to know if he just want to ask us something about the service or doing something, because we don't really want to have a conversation with him. We just want to get on there and get off. So we say, you know what, I'll call Pastor later. Later never gets there for you to call him. Now we making plans to get married. And we sure ain't finna change our minds now, because now we going to look at wedding dresses. We're looking at dresses for the bridesmaids, the flower girls. Then we come and tell Pastor, hey, Pastor, I'm getting married. Can you marry me on June 15th? And Pastor looks at you And he says, well, can I meet the man you're going to marry? I mean, that's just a natural question. Can I meet the man you're going to marry? And you say, Pastor, I think he's just too busy. Pastor, he ain't going to have time to meet. He ain't going to have time to deal. No, Pastor, we done fast. We done pray. We know what we're doing. All we need is your blessings and for you to marry us on June 15th. That's all we need, Pastor. Now, you may have them pastors that may just say, okay, well, come on, June 15th, I'll marry you. But if it's my daddy, he one of them pastors that's going to say, oh, no. I need to meet him, and we need to have some classes, at least 2 weeks of classes about marriage. And what do you know about him? And what do he know about you? Because, see, we get so emotionally involved in relationships, and we come to find out we don't know nothing about the man. Half the time, we don't even know if the man got a job, if he got family members, if he got children, what's going on in his life. We get so emotionally involved that we don't know where he is financially. We just involved. And love gonna take care of everything. We love one another. And love, oh my God, love just covers everything. It just covers everything. We ain't gonna have no issues. We ain't gonna have no problems because we love one another. And we gone on June 15th and we get married. And a month later, love began to tell us about all these bills that they have before we got married. And how financially now, because we love one another, we got all these love bills together. And you're looking at your income, and I ain't bring all these love bills into this marriage. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. Them ain't my love bills. Them ain't my love bills. Them your bills. And he looking at you and saying, well, the pastor said we won. Because, they can quote that Bible when it's beneficial to quote that Bible. We won. So if we won, we got these bills together. Now we got to pay these bills together. But if we would have backtracked and had the pastor to pray with us, it wasn't that he probably would have told us no, it wasn't the right person. But if we would have had him to fast with us and to pray with us, then God would have been able to reveal some of that stuff to us that while we were so emotionally in love that we overlooked. And being single and not wanting to be single forever, because, age starts creeping up and the enemy starts telling us, girl, you're going to get too old and ain't nobody going to want you. Anybody that come by, you better be trying to grab them. You better be trying to keep them because, girl, when you get a certain age, these men ain't looking for, that's what they say. These men ain't looking for people they age. They looking for young people. And, you getting on up there. They ain't going to be looking at you. They're going to be looking at the 20-year-olds and the 30 years old. You getting to be 40 and 50 and 60. They ain't going to want you. So when one come, you better grab them. So the enemy starts sending out, you get men, you be wondering where all these men came from. Just all the wrong men. You be wondering where did they come from? It's like they come out the woodworks. And they just, oh my God, you can't go in a store without one wanting to holler at you. Give me your number. Girl, let me text you. Girl, let me, it's you on Facebook. Let me hook up with you on Facebook. Anything to get your attention. And boy, we be eating it up because we like, man, this man like me. Girl, let me call Shauna and tell her about this man. Girl, I was just in the store, and this man hollering at me. And we calling everybody but God. The one we should be calling. God, this man was hollering at me at the store. Is he the one? God will tell you right then, no. You can move on to the next one. But no, we don't call God. We call Shauna. Because Shauna going to boost us on. Shauna going to tell us, girl, when the next time you call, girl, this what you tell him. Girl, the next time you call, girl, this what you say. Girl, the next time he call, girl, this what you do. And we eating it up. And we going on Shauna's advice. And we're just taking Shauna's advice. And Shauna ain't spoke to God neither. Ain't nobody spoke to God. Shauna giving you advice ain't from God. You taking Shauna's advice that ain't from God, and then you get yourself in a mess, and guess who you want to blame? Shauna. Because if Shauna hadn't have told me to do this, I wouldn't be in this state that I am. But it's not Shauna's fault. It's our fault. Because God gives us the opportunity to seek his face. And sometimes, you know, as my sister say on my prayer line, no, it's a healthy word. Sometimes God just going to tell us no because it's healthy for us to be told no. And we have to accept no. You know, our problem is when God tells us no, we want to go and ask God, well, if I do it this way, can it be yes? And God is still saying no. Because God is saying, if you would just wait, if you can just wait, I got this man that I'm fashioning for you. I'm getting him ready for you. I'm getting him prepared for you. If you can just wait. But we don't want to wait. We don't want to wait. We live in a world of, I want it now. I got to have it now. I want it instantly. And after I waited them 6 years, and I didn't get any response, I was like, okay, God, I'm ready now. You know, after the 7th year, you ready. And I was ready. I was like, God, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Dry season. Nothing at all. And I'm just like, Lord, you know, I'm getting old. I am getting old. And Lord, this ain't working, God. This ain't working. Now, I told you, because we like, you know, we tell God things. I told you I only wanted to wait 6 years. That's what I told you. But I'm 14 years later from the 6 years, and I'm still waiting, God. But you know what? It wasn't until I made up my mind that I was going to wait that God sent me somebody. Now, when I say God send you somebody that's fashioned after you and is for you, first opportunity, first time we talked, I had already told him, I'm saved, no hanky-panky, none. We're not doing the hanky-panky at all. So if you can't handle that, then that's a sign it's time for you to move on, because it ain't going to happen. So, but you know, men, they going to test you, because that's what they do. You know, oh, she's just saying that. So he hung around for 1 or 2 years, and he was like, okay. And I said, no. He said, well, I'm going to have to, you know, I just want to be your friend. I said, okay, well, we can be friends. I said, because I told you from day one. See, that's why it's good to establish your relationship from day one. I told you from day one there was going to be no hanky-panky. Just because it's 2 years later doesn't mean that day one change. Don't change your establishment for nobody. Whatever you are going to do, you let it be known first day. If you can't handle it, it's time to move on. It's time to go on. Because, see, what they want to do is they want to weigh you out is what they call it. I'm going to weigh her out. Eventually, she going to give in. I'm going to weigh her out. We can't let these men weigh us out. If we say we're not, we're not. That's it. But you know what it does? It allows that man to find, as other people will say, oh, he respect you more. Because he know if you're not going to have hanky-panky with him, you're not going to have hanky-panky with anybody else. So he respects you. And he knows that if I marry her, I ain't got to worry about her going outside the relationship, because she wouldn't even do it when we were seeing one another. She's a woman of a word that you are going to marry me. It's nothing wrong with being married. It's nothing wrong with being married. Don't let no man tell you, oh, if you love me. If he loves you, he'll wait. So when they say, if you love me, I just say, well, if you love me, you'll wait. Because that's what I want to do. Don't always just give in. Don't be a giver in. If he's willing to wait for you, then he wants you. If he's not willing to wait for you, he don't want you. He just want to get what he wants and move on. So we have to learn how to establish, as single women, establish the relationship from the beginning, so when we get to the end, there's no worries. Because 5 years later, we're still talking with no hanky-panky. No hanky-panky. So God will keep you through relationships, because, you know, we always like to say, well, you know, God knows. Yeah, God knows what you desire to do. God knows that too. When we say God knows our heart, God truly knows our heart. He knows if we're willing to live right, and he knows if we're not willing to live right. So when we say God knows our heart, that's one thing we ain't got to never lie about, because God knows. God knows what your intents are. He knows what your intents are in relationships. He knows what your intents are in living single and living for him. But I am a witness. I'm here to tell you, if you wait on the Lord, he will fashion somebody that is willing to wait on you.
Amen. God bless you, Pastor Dora. My God, I don't know if this is the faith boot camp or the marriage counseling boot camp or relationship. Amen. My God, we count it an honor and a privilege for you all being here. We thank God for all our visitors being with us today. I'm going to switch gears here a minute and just give you my topic, and then we'll move on from there. My topic today is your faith, his promise. Your faith, his promise. Now let that sink in a minute. Your faith in God. Are you willing to wait for the promise? Now the main character we have here is Abraham. We all know the story of Abraham and Sarah, and they were believing God for the child. And Sarah kind of got flipped, and Abraham kind of got discouraged. And sometimes our faith can make us get flipped, and sometimes our faith can make us get discouraged. So today I want to challenge you to keep your faith waiting while you're waiting for the promise. Let that sink in. In Romans chapter, I'm not going to read it all. I just want to point out a couple of highlights I had filled out. I see we all got to have the Abraham mentality, because God moved when Abraham didn't think God was going to move. And in our faith, sometimes we feel like God is not moving. But we got a promise, but we don't see the results of the promise. Abraham believed God, and while he was believing God, it was counted to him for righteousness. In other words, Abraham, I'm making you a father of many nations. That's a blessing right there already. That's a promise right there. So as we serve God, as we live our Christian lives, as we do what God has called us to do, don't forget the promise. Abraham, he told Abraham, in order for this promise or the promise to take effect, you got to stay in relationship with me. Now that's a tough area. That's an area where we kind of get, why do I got to stay in relationship if you promise me something? You know how it is. If you told me you're going to give me something, why I got to stick with you until this come to pass? And so God says, if you want to see the promise, your relationship has got to remain faithful. And we as Christians and men and women and servants of God, sometimes when storms or situations take place, we be like, God, I know you promised me, but look at this, look at that. God, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. God, can I just get the promise and go on? God says, no, we got to go through this thing. And sometimes we don't want to go through the process. We just want to walk up and say, God, thank you for the promise. But God was letting Abraham know, listen, in order for you to see the goodness that I have for you, I need you to remain faithful and put your faith in what I'm telling you to do. The situation here is Abraham and Sarah will believe in God for a child. And when you're believing God for something, sometime you're tested, like the speaker said earlier. You're tested. Your faith is tested. Your patience is tested. Your endurance is tested. But God says, I got a promise. But how many of us are willing to say, God, I'm crying, I'm disappointed, but I heard about the promise. God, you promised me. This person walked away. That happened, this happened, but God, you promised me. And Abraham did not waver. He didn't stagger. He stood firm on this promise. And in our Christian walk, with the way things are now, there is no time for wavering, no time for staggering, no time for doubting. Because why? We have a promise. No, we're not Abraham. No, we're not Sarah. But we heard God give us a promise. And Abraham, it tells us how Abraham was 100 years old, still believing God. Even though Sarah's womb was about dead. Have you ever been feeling like the situation is dead? But you know God has a promise. So Sarah's womb is about dead. Abraham's getting frustrated. He's 100 years old. And then God going to tell him about a promise. He can hardly move around. And God, you're telling me about a promise at 100 years old? You're telling this man to sacrifice, to believe, because I have a promise. And your faith brings the promise. Your faith shows God you believe in him. You say, God, this is happening. That is happening. God, look at the way things are. Look at the society. Look at the way the world is now. But your faith keeps you in remembrance that God promised you something. Whether it comes now, later, or through someone, or in a situation, whether you're in ministry, out of ministry, with family, with a business, whatever, your faith brings the promise. But God says, I got to make sure that you're going to remain faithful in the midst of people. Now, Abraham was believing God. Sarah was believing God, even though he got laughed at, he got scorned. He got looked down upon. And sometimes when we're believing God and staying faithful, sometimes we get looked down upon. Like, why are you still believing God for the house? Why are you still remaining faithful? Look what's happening all around you. Look at your kids all out of whack. Your business is falling apart. And you're remaining faithful. Why? Because God told me there is a promise. Your faith brings the promise to pass. Whether the pastor call you out, whether somebody pray with you, whether someone touch and agree with, whatever, it doesn't matter. Your faith, it's your own personal, it's a personal thing when it comes to the things of God for your faith. It is personal if you want the promise. I cannot believe God with you and say, I touch and agree, and then get mad with you because God brought your promise to pass and my promise didn't come to pass. You got the house and I didn't get the house. I still have to remain faithful for the promise. So today, I want you to know that your faith brings God's promise. Your endurance brings God's promise. It isn't what you say. It isn't what you do. It isn't what you give or how you live or what your name in lights or whatever. It's your faithfulness to God. Abraham didn't have luxury and all that type of stuff. 100 years old, what can you do? At 100 years old, you can barely stand up, and God is telling you, I'm going to bless you. At 100 years old, your wife's womb half dead. She can't hardly move. You half dead too. And then God, you telling me about a promise at 100 years old. Why didn't you tell me when I was 30, 40, 50 years old? But now you're going to wait to 100 years and tell me that, oh, by the way, I got a promise for you. The thing is, God says it's not your timing. The promise is not in your timing. And we remain faithful and think if I remain faithful, it's going to happen, boom, just like that. And you think God is sitting there on his throne making fun of you, jokes about you. God is like, no, I'm going to test you. Because if I give it to you like that, you may just turn your back and say, I got it, thank God, ooh, your head may blow up. But God says, if I take you through a journey to test you, to see if you really want this promise, and if I test you to see if you're going to remain faithful to the promise. I don't know what your promise is today, but your faith in God brings your promise. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is coming up.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is not only having faith in God, you also have to have confidence in God, right? With confidence can get you anywhere, and you can do anything when you have confidence. There's 4 parts of confidence that I like to call my rollout or my layout. And those 4 parts is a spiritual connection, healing, self-love, and then education, right? So when you're starting to build your confidence, you have to have some level of a sense of who you are and who God is, right? So when you think about who you are and what God says he made you to be, you think about he made me beautifully and wonderfully made. He made me so that I shall have life abundantly. He made me so that I don't have to worry. All I have to do is go to him and ask. Ask, and I shall find. Seek, and I shall find. Ask, and it shall be given to you, right? So you want to first live out those things that God says who you are as a person. I don't remember the scripture because I don't have my notes, but in the Bible it says that God made you a wind, W-I-N-D. When you think about wind, you can't see it. All you know is you can feel it and it moves. So if God said that you are a wind, why is it that we believe that our destiny is in man somehow? When God says you are a wind, why is it that we don't believe we can move when God say we can move? Why is it that we don't believe that when God tells us this is going to happen, you're going to be able to do this, why don't we believe that we're just going to show up and it's just going to move the way God said it's going to move? Because you are the wind. Who can stop wind? Man can't stop wind, which means man can't stop you. Nobody can stop the wind but God. So when you have the confidence of moving and doing those things that God has called you to do, don't let man get in your way. Man is going to want to stop you, want to bring you down. He wants to put you in a place of doubt, of fear. But when you know the God that you serve and what he said and who you are, there's no way that man could stop you. There's no way that any circumstance, any situation can stop you. Right? And then we want to go into the character of God. In order for you to have confidence in God, you have to know a little bit about his character. And God's character, he's a deliverer. He's a healer. He's a redeemer. He's going to win the battle every time. And he's a promise keeper. So when you think about having confidence in God, you got to know his character. Because he going to pull you out of any situation. He going to pull you through your mess. He going to make your mess a message. He going to do all of the things that in our minds we think is so hard to accomplish. But when you know the character of God, that builds the confidence in you, knowing that I serve a God who can do all. I serve a God of impossibilities. So the spiritual connection has to be firm. It has to be the beginning of building your confidence in yourself. You want to build it in God first, and then you want to build it in yourself. And then the next thing is healing. In order for you to become the best you, whatever that was in your past that might have hurt you, whatever that was in your past that you kind of still hold on to, that you still fighting and struggling to let go of, you got to get that. You got to let God be the healer of that thing. Because if not, if you don't fix it, it's going to bleed. It's going to bleed on that dream you're trying to accomplish. It's going to bleed on you raising your children. It's going to bleed on your ministry if that's what you want to do. It's going to bleed on everything you put your hands to. And the thing is whatever God is calling you to do, you don't want it to be tainted by what you're hurting from. So you have to give it to God in order for you to heal and become the best version of yourself. And that is where, if you want to become confident, we're not all, we may be confident in certain areas. Everybody feel confident in that one thing that you know you do so well. But we're talking about the thing that you shy away from. That you be like, no, you go ahead and do that. I'm going to sit right here. That ain't my lane. I'm going to stay in my area. Okay? So it's like You want to be able to challenge yourself to those things that you don't want to do. Because in the things that God is calling you to do, it's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. But when you have that confidence in God and confidence in yourself, fear can't stop you. You're going to walk on out there and do what you got to do. Fear is not going to be an issue to you because you know that this is the part where I have to make a decision. I'm going to decide if I'm going to continue to sit here and say nothing, or I'm going to decide if I'm going to walk out and do what God told me to do. Once you overcome that part of the assignment, then God can flow however he needs to flow in you. But you got to get to a point in your life where it's like, I can't become the victim anymore. I can't have all these excuses anymore. I can't allow my circumstance to keep me stuck. I got to put all of that aside and do what God is calling me to do. Right? And how do you know if something is on the inside of you and you need to heal from it? How do you know you need healing? It's that little thing when you are in a spot of happiness and you're in a spot of peace and everything seems to be going well. But there's always that thought in your mind that kind of take you back to something that you like, oh, I don't want to think about that right now. I don't want to deal with that right now. That thing that we don't want to deal with is how we know we need to heal from it. That thing that we continue to run from facing is how we know we need some type of healing. But it's okay, healing takes time, and you have to be able to face it head on. Don't run from it. Just face it head on. Ask God, how do I come out of this? How do I not allow this situation or what happened to me to be an issue for me in my healing? Because it always comes back. It always comes back when you think you've healed from it. It's gonna come back and you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta go visit that one more time because I'm not finished with that yet, right? So you give it to God and you allow Him to heal you, and your healing journey is more of coming face to face with you and who you are and the things that you've been through and your experiences, and it doesn't feel good, but I promise you, what don't feel good now, it's gonna bless you later. What don't feel good now is going to be your purpose. God's going to use it all for your purpose, for your assignment. So you gotta face it and you gotta process it, because if not, you won't be able to see the glory that God wants to reveal through that very thing. Right? So the next part is self-love. How do you build your self-love? You want to be able to talk about you in a nice way. We don't like everything about us, but we have to take the things that we do like and love about us, and we nourish those things. When you nourish the things that you love about you, then those other things that you don't really care for about you, they kind of fall off. So the more you nourish and love on yourself, the more you begin to see the good and not focus on the bad things. I'm not even going to say they're bad things. They're just flaws that society has showed us that are not what's likable. And that's not true. You have to be able to, if it's something that's on the inside of you or something on the outside of you that you don't like about yourself, fall in love with that. Change it. Do whatever it is that you need to do to change that. And self-love is also saying no. If you know you can't do something, if that's going to make you thin yourself out and taking care of the things that's on your plate, learn how to say no. It's okay to say no. All right? And then another thing about self-love that I wanted to point out is, what is it that you do for you on a daily basis? What is it that you do to take care of you, to make sure your mental is good, to make sure your emotions are intact, to make sure that your cup is overflowing? When your cup is overflowing, then you can pour into everybody else that is around you. You got to go to God to make sure that your cup is overflowing, right? So that's another thing. It's take time for you every single day. I don't care if it's 15, 20 minutes. Take some time for you every single day. And then the last part I want to talk about in building your confidence is education. When we feel like we can control the narrative, we feel our best. How do you control the narrative? You got to be educated on those things that you deal with on a daily basis. Not just business or ministry, just in general having experience so that you can relate to other people. When you have those experiences and that training where you're continually to read, you're continually to research, just things going on around the world, you feel comfortable sitting in a room with other people knowing that whatever they talking about or whatever they discussing, you can discuss it as well. So it makes you feel good about you when you have a broad idea of different topics. And say you have a dream that you are pursuing or a business that you're working on, education is free. I'm not going to say that. Some places it's free. There's a lot of education out there that's free. YouTube, for example. YouTube can teach you anything you want to know. You know what I mean? Go to the library and read a book or anything. So whatever skill or whatever dream that you're holding on to that you want to pursue, if it's not seeming to move in the right direction right now, educate yourself on that. Get that skill in you. Learn that knowledge, because when the time is right, when it's your turn and it's your time, you got to be ready to perform. You got to be ready to do what it is that you are called to do. So knowing the information gets you to a spot where I can do this. And that's what it's about, having the confidence in yourself, God first and foremost, and then in yourself. Because if you have faith in yourself, the failure will not get to you, because you're going to fail. You know, you're going to have some ups and downs. You're going to have some mistakes. And I don't like to look at failure as being negative. Failure is something else I need to go back and learn. Something else I need to get me to a place where I'm okay now. It's not an issue for me. The same thing with rejection. Rejection is not negative. It's not right now, or I'm protecting you for something. Okay, so rejection is not bad. It's actually a good thing. God is protecting you from something, or he's getting you prepared for the right time. So I hope this helps somebody. Continue to build your confidence in God first and then in you. God bless.
Comfortable, y'all. I have these heels on, so I'm gonna sit down. First, I like to give honor to God for allowing me to be here. And reverting back to what my sister was just speaking about, um, confidence and, you know, just doing what God has called you to do. And without faith and without confidence, nothing is possible. I have some notes here. I'm just going to kind of look in and out on my notes because I've stepped out of my comfort zone, reverting on, you know, what my little big sister just spoke on. I have stepped out of my comfort zone. And I once heard a saying, you got to move out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable, because when you step out of that comfort zone, you have to allow God to use you. So, that's where I'm kind of going today, and I'm going to speak about business. First of all, you have to have God as number one. You have to have faith. You have to have patience. You have to have dedication and determination. Last week, I called Prophet. When he told us about the faith boot camp, he called me. He asked me to speak. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. So last week, Monday, 4 days before this event, I was just going through it. It's like everything was hitting me from the left. It was coming from the right. It was coming from all angles. So I told Jaquita, I said, call Prophet and tell him I'm not doing it. So she was like, I'm not calling nobody. Call him yourself. So I called him and I was crying. I was boiling. He was like, slow down. I had ran my car. I let my car roll. I was getting out to go to the bathroom at my store. I let my car, brand new BMW. I left it in neutral. I don't know if it was in neutral, reverse, drive, or what. All I know is I went into my store, and my daughter was sitting at the front door, and she said, "Ma, the car." I was using the bathroom. My underwear wasn't pulled up. I tried to get up and run out there. All I was praying is my car didn't hit the latest car that was next door, because she just got a brand new Lexus, and she was going to be upset with me. So I came outside, and I looked over. I was looking for I looked to the left first. It didn't hit her car, so I was okay. So I was looking for my car at that time. My daughter was standing there. She was laughing. How you did it? I said, girl, you better be quiet. Wait till I finish and see what's going on with my car. So I went around, and I looked at it, and I was like, okay, he ain't do nothing. It was nothing but God. I had a couple little scratches. And when I say it hit big, it sounded like a volcano had erupted. So, I was just going through a lot last week, and I know it was only to stop me from doing what God called me to do, and that's being here, speaking about business, and letting everybody know whatever you go through, do not give up on God. I'm going to tell you a story. I started my business. Well, I started doing business. I was working for someone in 2009. I was working in a personal care home for this lady. Her name was Miss Thomas. So I worked for her for about 2 years. And she would always promise me, Tamika, you're good, having me come in extra hours, neglecting my family. And I would go in, do the job, have somebody else keeping my children. And she would always say, you're doing a good job. I'm going to help you start your own. She just told me that because she never did help. So at that time, I was like, if I can do all of this for somebody else, I could do it for myself. Because one thing I knew is nobody could teach me how to love these people, because I already loved them. So I started business in 2009. I went to the personal care agency. They gave me my paperwork, and it was a little setback. She was like, well, I was asking her. I said, well, how long will it take me to get started? And she told me, she said, well, I'm gonna give you the paperwork. She said, most people, it take them up to a year. So I was like, Lord, what I'm gonna do? Can't pay no bills with love. So I did my paperwork. I did everything I had to do. I opened that business in 3 months by the power of God and determination and dedication. So I opened up my business. Everything was going well. And when you're doing business, you have to, when you're going into business, you got to watch your circle. Because let me tell you something. where God is taking you, you can't take everybody else with you. And that's what I was trying to do. I want to take everybody. I got my sister working in there. I got my mama working there. I got my daddy working in there. I got his friend working in there. But my daddy's friend, he was the one that was going to take the ship down. Because when Miss Tamika was leaving, he was being mean to the people. So as the years went on, I stayed in business from 2009 up until 2017. Praise God. So 2017, I was getting ready to move into another place. So the agency, I called up the agency, and she told me, she said, well, Tamika, you can go ahead and you can make the move, but no, she said, no, she told me that I could make the move. So I made the move. So when I made the move, the state is telling me you couldn't make the move like that. So I'm like, well, she told me that I could make the move. So then she say, and remind you, I had moved my people out of the home where I was licensed. So I moved them into the home where I was trying to get licensed. So I had let the house go. So, I got like 7, 8 people, the clients, we all in one home. So then they come back and say, well, you got to let those people go, or you got to, move everybody out, and you got to get your license and stuff straight. So I didn't do it. I could not, my heart just would not let me put those people on the street. So Miss Tamika did what she had to do. And all at the same time, it took care of me, it took care of them, and it still paid the bills. We was breaking the law, but it still paid the bills. And I thought everything was good. So remind you the circle that I kept. So one day, I had someone take one of my clients to the hospital, to an appointment. So the guy that was working for me, he kind of pissed her off a little bit. So she was mad. So when she went, she told the people that he was being mean to her, this, that, and the third. So next thing I know, the police, the Augusta Task Force, everybody was at the house. I wasn't there. I was around the corner. They was calling me. I wasn't going because I knew they were going to take me to jail. So I wasn't. So I said then, and I prayed, and I said, Lord, you brought me this far, and you know that I took care of your people, and I loved on your people. I'm talking about I was on Channel 12. I was on Channel 6. I was on Fox 54. I was on all news channels in Augusta, Georgia. So I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even go to church. And I was like, Lord, why me? They were saying I was bathing the people outside. It was just so many lies. So I stopped the bid. Well, they took my people, so I couldn't do no business. So I sat down, and I had to get a grip on me. I had to find me, and God said, well, I didn't bring you this far to stop now. So I went to court, and praying and trusting in God. My charges got dropped. So I was like, well, I want Channel 12, Channel 6, Channel 54. I want all of y'all to put me back on the news and apologize. So they gave me they did it, and they said that I wasn't guilty. So, I was thinking it was okay. So then I ended up, where did I work? Me and my sister, we always try to, do a little something to come up with ideas to run a business or whatever. So somehow I had a couple clients, and I had 2 family members that after my charges got dropped, they told me that, I don't care what the news say, I know you. So I want you to continue to take care of my family members. So that's what I did. So I did it. I broke the law profit. I kind of, rigged it up so I wouldn't get in trouble. I put the checks into my cousin's name so he would get the money. So I was like, because if they come back, they're not going to get me this time. So if God told me to take care of those people, I'm just gonna do what God told me to do. So I had 3 people with me at the time, and I moved them. I love those people so much. I moved them into my house. They were staying with me, my husband. You know, we was just like a big family. So 2007, I think it was 2017. 2017, I had just celebrated a birthday. So I just came back from my sisters from Atlanta. We just getting back, so I don't know where I was this particular day, and they called and said they back at the house again. They want you. So I was like, well, my name ain't no nothing and this and that. Well, they already knew you already had your hand in this before, so they knew that you did it. So, you know, just like I said, you got to watch your circle. So somebody had sent an email and told the people that I was being mean, if same thing again. So they was like, well, we're going to throw you in jail. You're going to go to jail. And so I was in there. I was crying. I was boiling. I think my husband might have spent like $4,000 on the phone bill. I was in there for Thanksgiving. I almost was there for Christmas. But I think I got out December the 11th. I think I got out, and you know, God said, you know, I was like, I don't care what you say. This time, Lord, I ain't fooling with them people. I got to find me something else to do. So my sister here, we always trying to come up with a business plan, but we never leave God out. So we went into that old prayer closet. We went to praying, and then she called me. She went home. She called me, and she said, you know what you'll be good at? I said, what? She said, you always like to get your hair done, and you like to wear sunglasses, and you know, just do a boutique or something. So I was like, well, you know what? I pay so much on hair and this and that. So I was like, I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to do it. So I was looking for a building. I found a building, and I went, and I was like, well, my credit ain't all that good. I ain't going to be able to get it. You know, that was just the enemy trying to put doubt and fear once again. So I was connected with Prophet at this time. So I got that oil, that prayer oil, that special oil back there on that table. Y'all make sure y'all get some for y'all leave. But I had that same oil, so I went to that store. It was sitting on the corner, and I went in there, and I prayed about it. And I was like, Lord, I was putting that cross up there. I said, Lord, this is going to be my building. This is going to be mine. In the name of Jesus. I kept doing it. I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And it just stuck. So somebody had a contract on the building at the time, but I ain't care because I knew what God was going to do for me. So I waited a couple of days. I put in the, I didn't put in the application. I had put I spoke to the lady, and I was just waiting at this time. So then she called me back, and she was like, well, the person that had the building, she said her husband or something was going on with her husband. So she was like, you're next in line. So at that point, I was like, praise God, so it's mine. So I got the building in 2017. Got the building in 2000. At the end of 2017, I had been through so much hell. So I was like, well, this is going to be my breakthrough. So I was looking up, names or whatever for my building, and me and my niece come together, and she was like, some kind of booze boutique or some kind of boutique. So I was like, no, I don't like that. So she was coming up, listening to other folk tell me what I'm going to name my stuff. So they just trying to give me names. So I go to my church, Tabernacle Baptist Church. So I hear a man, and he's talking about a miracle stone. So I'm listening, and then he was like, that miracle stone, he was talking about the stone, and he was saying, it just looks so pretty when you see it. But you never know what it's been through. So he was like, everything that it's been through, you just don't know. So I was looking around, and I was saying, I'm the miracle stone. So I looked at her, I say, Ches, I got the name. So I went back and I had that building, and it was a piece of crap. It was, I mean, it was from the front to the back. It was just black all the way through. And then I hear that this lady, she was in there. I don't know what she was selling. I don't know what kind of product she was selling there, but it was just a dark place. So I went in there and I painted that thing pink as this suit I got on. It was bright pink. So we painted it. We did all the work, you know, from December to I opened up. I had my grand opening March of 2018. So I opened up. I went through this company called, what was those people named, Jaquita? I don't want to tell no stories, but it'll come back to me. But I'm going to keep on moving. But I had this company. They were over my credit card transactions. Clover. It was a company that was portraying Clover. So everything that I batched in, I had worked so hard. Everything that I batched in, I think I might have made $3,000 my first day opening. So when I tell you guys everything that I made, they stole every penny that I had made. I wanted to cry. I was just like, how? So that's why I say dedication and determination. I was determined to win. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to suck it up. So, you know, me and my husband, everything was kind of slow. You know, the money was slow. 2018 was the worst. I was the brokest person in the world. I might have looked good, but I was broke as heck. So, you know, I said, I got to get us some money. So, you know, I just never gave up. I never gave up, and I just kept pushing. So that's what I want to tell you guys. You know, if whatever you're determined to do, just do it. If you're in business, don't give up, because if you trust in God, everything is going to turn out just the way it is planned. So I just want to leave y'all that word, and I just want to say that I am thankful and grateful to be here, because the devil came at me all this week, and, you know, it's only because of God that I'm sitting here. So I just want y'all to just keep the faith and trust in God. And I love you all, and I just love being connected to this ministry.
Praise the Lord. We thank God for all the speakers. I pray that you are encouraged in your faith in your business, your faith with your family, your faith in relationships, wherever your faith is today in this boot camp. I pray you're encouraged. I pray you're